In section 7 of the course, we're going to take a look at creating advanced gameplay features. Specifically, we'll see how to use C# properties to create health and respond to events, and we'll also see visual scripting inside Unity. In this video, we're going to take a look at C# properties and their structure, and how they can be applied to the case of creating player health. In this section, we're going to be looking at a range of different C# features that can help us create gameplay inside Unity. The first thing that I want to have a look at is C# properties and a practical case where we might want to use them. In this case, we want to use it to have a look at player health, to calculate whether player health needs to be reduced, and whether anything needs to happen when the player dies or whether their health reduces below a certain level. In this very basic scene, you can see that we have a red ground floor plane, which I've marked as lava here. And when we have the player character, which is going to be this capsule object, when the player character moves over to the lava pit so that the player is standing on fire, then the player health should be reduced. And we're going to look at some ways in which we can achieve that. To get started, I'm going to create a completely new health script by right-clicking in the project panel, choosing Create, and then choosing Health. I'm going to press Enter on the keyboard and double-click that to load this inside MonoDevelop. So we have our basic health script here. So you can see we have the health script. And under normal circumstances, we might create float health points. For example, they might start at 100 points. And inside the update function, we might need to continually check to see if the health points ever reduce below 0, because if they do, then basically the player should die. So we do our die stuff here. Now this is quite inefficient, and the reason for this is because we're constantly checking the health points inside the update function to see whether they fall below 0. It turns out that actually C# gives us a really interesting feature called properties that can allow us to circumvent this, so that the only time we ever check the health points, the only time we ever need to respond to them or validate them, is when the health points change and at no other time. So I'm actually going to delete the update function completely. I'm going to delete the start function completely, and I'm going to be changing some of these values here. So the initial health points, I'm simply going to put an underscore in front of that, and I'm going to mark this value as private. So this is our internal, for our use only health points. And then I'm going to create a C# property as an interface point for this variable. So let's see how that works. I'm going to choose public and then choose float. And this time I'm going to declare things slightly differently. I'm going to call this health points. Again, notice this one does not have the underscore. And then I'm going to open this pretty much like a function here. So we're going to have a get, and I'll explain in just a second how this works. So we're going to have a get, and then we're also going to have a set here. So I'm going to create a set variable, or set function rather. And inside the function, we're going to set the health points to the value that we specify. And then we just want to check to see if the health points fall below 0. And if they do, then we need to do our die stuff here. So let's take a look at how this works. We have a new variable, and actually this is going to work very much like a variable, but we get to code some functions inside it. And these are special internal functions. We have the get function. This is going to run every time we want to retrieve the health points. And actually we should be returning the internal variable here. So this function here. So every time we want to get the health points, we're going to be returning our internal variable. But every time we want to set the health points, this internal function is going to be running instead. So let's take a look at how this might work practically inside the start function. So the level begins, for example, and if I wanted to set my health points to, let's say, 75, for example, when I set this to 75 and C# encounters this line, what is going to happen instead is it's going to jump up here to the set function, and our internal variable health points is going to be assigned value. And this value keyword here, this is going to stand in for whatever value happens to be on the right-hand side of the equal sign. So when this statement's encountered, this is going to be set to 75, the health points are going to be set to 75, and then the additional code continues to run as though it were a regular function. This means that this piece of code here only ever executes only ever runs and validates our variable when it actually changes. This is one of the beautiful features of C# properties here. So this is really great. We've now coded the main structure of our script here, the health script. In the next movie, we're going to see how we can actually use this in the practical case of our scene so that the player takes damage whenever they step on the lava pit.